Thanks for joining for another episode of Feathered Fridays. My name is Kristyn Stewart and I am from Texas A&M University, Kingsville. I've had the pleasure of being a master's student since the spring of 2018, and my project for the last 2 years has focused on one of the more cryptic and unknown species of quail native here to the Lone Star State. That is Montezuma quail. They're also known as Mearns quail or harlequin quail. They can be found in a couple of other states, but the majority of their geographic distribution is actually found in Mexico. So they're found here in Texas. They're also found in Arizona and New Mexico, and in both of those states there's a huntable population. Here in Texas though, they're just a game species with no open season, so you're not supposed to hunt these guys. What I'm holding in my hand is actually a male Montezuma. I'll bring out a female Montezuma a little bit later and show you the sexual dimorphism between the two species, which means that the male and the female don't look the same. And so as you can see, he's really colorful. He's got lots of spots, some nice brown plumage on him as well. Something besides just the physical qualities that separates this bird from other New World quails that we see, like the bobwhite or the scaled quail, is that Montezuma quail forage more underground than they do above ground. So Montezuma quail actually will more likely dig for their food than just scratch for seeds on the surface. So they primarily will dig and look for subterranean tubers from plants that you might be familiar with, wild onion, wild garlic, and oxalis or wood sorrel. And so that's something really, really interesting and really separates them from those other quail species that we see here in Texas. Something else that separates them is one of their defense strategies. Instead of having a bobwhite quail that might flush away from you from 10 to 20 feet away, or a scaled quail that might want to more run away from you than anything, Montezuma quail will actually find a place to just hide and crouch. Some people have been able to get up close to them and be within a few feet before the quail will actually want to flush. And this is something else that kind of just separates them from those other quail species. So here in Texas, these quail can be found in two ecoregions, the Edwards Plateau and the Trans-Pecos ecoregion. And that is exactly where my project has focused on for the past 2 years. So these two ecoregions for sure have different habitat qualities. They're separate ecoregions, different environments and climates. And so it's interesting to know that these quail will actually inhabit both of those areas. So what my project has primarily focused on over the last couple of years has been the juniper species within each of those ecoregions. Historically in the Edwards Plateau, these guys were widespread. They were found in many counties and were very prevalent. And over time, since human population has increased in this area, so has ash juniper. And so what we wanted to really understand is, at the beginning, how ash juniper was influencing Montezuma quail distribution and habitat use. After year 2, we ended up expanding our study, and then we wanted to determine how alligator juniper, which is only found in the Trans-Pecos here in Texas, also impacts their distribution, because, funny enough, alligator juniper can be found across their range in Arizona, New Mexico, and also in Mexico. But it's only found in the Trans-Pecos here in Texas, and so there's a really separating factor there for those two ecoregions, with Edwards Plateau having only ash juniper in this area where quail are found, and then the Trans-Pecos having only alligator juniper. So for the last 2 years, I've been trying to find these guys across the landscape in both of those ecoregions. I've been collecting used locations, and then at those used locations, I've been collecting lots of vegetation data characteristics on specifically the juniper. We want to look at the juniper height and juniper density and juniper cover at these used locations. And also we want to look at those same metrics at random locations across the landscape to really gauge where these guys are using versus what's really out there and see if there's a difference. So for the last 2 years, that has been my primary project, and I'm finishing up my 3rd field season this summer. But I'm going to go run and get the female Montezuma so that you can actually see the difference between what this male looks like and what she's going to be looking like. So here I have the female Montezuma, and right off the bat you can probably see that she looks a lot different than the male did. She's very brown, she doesn't have any white really on her face, and so that's what I mean by sexual dimorphism. That means that the male looks much different than the female and vice versa. And so something that I didn't talk about with the male was that they have different calls. The female has what we call a 9-note descending call, where the male will do a male buzz call. And I encourage everyone to try and look those up, because you can find that on All About Birds by Cornell. There's probably some other online resources that you can find. Also, looking up just their range and different things online. You know, there's so many resources out there that you can definitely see, and it will give you a lot more information on them, or if you want to go back and look up some of these facts that you've heard today, you'll be able to do that. And so thank you so much for joining me to discuss my project and something that's grown into my passion for the last 2 years. And I hope that if you have any questions, you'll feel free to reach out to me, reach out to brigades, and I bet they'll give you all the information that you need. So thank you so much, and I hope you join us for another Feathered Friday next week. Thank you.